Here's what we're cooking with on today's Locked On Warriors. Adam Copeland of KNBR joins me. We fire off some final takes before the real stories begin to develop, but we do have Dubs news on a Wednesday. Former lottery pick Kevin Knox has been signed by Golden State. I've got his story right now on Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Locked On Warriors, and thank you for making us your first listen of every day. A lot of ways you can check us out, free and available across all platforms. Wherever you get your audio podcasts for the go, you can also stream us on YouTube, and we will be going live after every single game starting on October 5th when the Warriors take on the LA Clippers in preseason. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. What's up, everydayers? Thank you to all those that tune into the show every single day, especially across the off seasons, the doldrums, the parts of the year where nothing is happening. But I'm here to tell you, and Charlie Walter, by the way, formerly at 95.7 The Game in San Francisco, also KPIX, cover the Warriors there at CBS News Bay Area. I'm here to tell you that brighter days are ahead in terms of news. Media Day starts on Monday. That's where you can hear from all the players and their thoughts heading into the season. Because aside from Steph in the Olympics, we really haven't heard from anyone this summer. And Draymond on his podcast and Coach Kerr. Aside from that, really haven't heard from anyone. We'll have the chance starting on Monday. So we're talking about some of the storylines entering this upcoming season with Adam Copeland. But before that conversation, let's break down what happened on Wednesday. That's the Golden State Warriors adding Kevin Knox to the fold. First on Tuesday, the Dubs signed second-round pick Quentin Post to a two-way contract. So Post will be a part of the Golden State Warriors this year. They waived two-way player Daquan Plowden to make room for him. Plowden will reportedly come to camp and compete for a job on the team. Wednesday, the Dubs follow that up. It's Kevin Knox, who led the Summer League team in points and in rebounds, has agreed to a one-year contract with Golden State. Intriguing, I guess it depends on who you're asking. To me, as someone that actually, shameless plug, covered Kevin Knox at Kentucky, took the local news path to get to San Francisco. And some of my first stops were in SEC country, one of those stops being a few years in Kentucky. And Kevin Knox was on that team. He led the Wildcats in scoring his freshman year, scored more than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and PJ Washington, also freshmen on that team. I mean, this is the same Kevin Knox that was the number 9 overall pick in the 2018 draft, a lottery pick talent. The same Kevin Knox that averaged nearly 13 his first season in the NBA with the New York Knicks. But it's also the same Kevin Knox that's on his 5th team in 7 seasons. And I find it interesting that the Golden State Warriors, who pride themselves in analytics and data and finding diamonds in the rough, like the Gary Payton IIs that maybe haven't been utilized the right way or been given the proper opportunities, I find it interesting that they'd go after a player like Knox enough to bring him in, despite what the data says. He's a career 39% shooter from the floor. 39%. He's been a non-existent rebounder, so throw out that big 6'9" frame that he brings to the fold. He's someone that loves to put it up there from deep. Will chuck them up any opportunity he gets, but at best, he's a fine three-point shooter. Maybe, pretty good three-point shooter. Shot at 33% last year in Detroit, where he averaged 7 points a game. Shot 3 threes a game last year, 3 of them, and grabbed 2.5 rebounds. So I don't necessarily see the fit, but he does have some talent. So they'll bring him to camp, and it makes me think that they saw something from him in the offseason that gave them the mindset, all right, he has talent, he has size, he can shoot the ball. Let's bring him into camp, see if we can throw him into our system, whip him up into shape a little bit, turn him into more of a rebounder and defender and someone that can really be 3 and D and utilize that size to get off shots at volume. And maybe, just maybe, he is a 39% three-point shooter and something clicks this season. However, if you gave me even odds and said, is Kevin Knox going to be a relevant member of the Golden State Warriors this season, I would take the no. I would cash that bet. I'm very confident. And I would also say that if Kevin Knox is playing significant minutes on the Golden State Warriors this season, I don't believe it's because Knox had a career resurgence and is a championship caliber player. I think it would be things are a mess in Golden State because the way that the roster is currently constructed, I don't see any path to Kevin Knox receiving serious minutes on this team. That's my take of the matter. On to Adam Copeland. And the nice thing about sports, you never know. So Kevin Knox, go out there and ball out. Played well this summer league. We still believe in you. 26 years of age, though, has been in the league too long to the point where he can no longer be a two-way player. So we'll see. Adam Copeland shares the airwaves with Tom Tolbert on KNBR. He's our guest on today's show.
You've been focused on Niners, man. You do the Niners post-game shows for KNBR. You guys also the home of the San Francisco Giants, so you had a lot of baseball to tend to. Meanwhile, I'm sitting over here doing about 100 episodes during hypothetical season. We've now switched from hypothetical season to storyline season for about 5 days, as media day is on Monday. Then the exhibitions come, the preseason is here, and we tip things off. What's your overall take on the Golden State Warriors as we enter this season?
Well, I'll tell you what, if the 49ers keep going the way they're going at 1-3 with the level of injuries they're having, we may be talking basketball a little bit sooner here in the Bay Area too, if things continue down this track. In general with the Warriors, I think and I don't know what the fan base feels overall. Overwhelming, it's funny, having grown up in the Bay Area, because the Warriors were oftentimes an afterthought. It was low expectations, couldn't get anything done, would never pull off the big move, couldn't land the big player. Even when they did, it was often the wrong big player. When they drafted well, they weren't able to hold on to their talent. And now we're in an era where, because Steph Curry is here, people believe that everything he touches can in fact turn to gold, maybe with Joe Lacob there as well. I do think this offseason, somewhat akin to last offseason, was a bit of a miss. I don't think they landed enough talent that they needed to land. I think they got some help with Buddy Hield, guys who can come in and help some scoring around Steph Curry, but you still have to account for the fact that he's not the player Klay Thompson was, even sometimes not at Klay Thompson's best. Now, people from within the organization, I think, would say they knew that Klay Thompson was likely on the way out. We found out later on that he was not offered the deal and was not negotiated with up front frequently like he wanted to be. So I think overall, we can get to the Brandon Podziemski stuff, because I do think that the roster in general is better than it was last year. The issue I have is what is the ceiling for the team based on the roster they have now, comparable to the rest of the Western Conference? And if it's not a top 4 seed, maybe a top 5 seed, where top 4, you're at least getting the home court throughout that first round of the postseason. If it's not a top 4 seed, then what's the goal for the season? Because if you have Steph, it has to be to win now.
Has to be to win now, but you have him for 3, right? With the extension through 26, 27. So you have a clear 3-year window of, you would assume, a very effective all-star, all-NBA caliber Steph Curry for the next 3 seasons that you can build around. Trades obviously become a large part of that. So we've heard the term like Warriors keeping their powder dry this offseason, waiting for the right move to open up to where they're first in line, because they have players like Podziemski or a Kuminga and all their draft picks intact, that sort of thing. But with the Warriors 43.5 entering this season, like what's your stance on the number of games that they'll win? Are they, 30 to 40, 40 to 50? What are we talking?
It's 43.5 the Vegas win total for this season.
That's what they're saying on FanDuel.
Oof, that's a tough line, man. I mean, that's we're talking just over 500, right? I mean, you look at the Western Conference, and I don't think the Warriors are considered. I know when Steph Curry's at his best, when he's playing A1 ball, but we saw last year when he broke down. I don't want to say broke down. That's not fair. We saw last year that Steph Curry is still very much in his prime. He's on the back 9. We don't know if it's, hole 15. We don't know if it's hole 17. For you to say there's a very clear 3-year window, while I do think Steph, and because he's a shooter and the type of player he is, doesn't have to have the ball in his hands at all time, he's so dangerous off the ball, I do think he's going to have a long and healthy career. I think the question has to be asked, how much of the load does he have to carry offensively this year in order for this team to be successful? And if it's as much as he had to carry last year, I think the answer is probably 45 to 50 wins in that window. I think in order to be a top 4 team, you're going to need to be in that 50-plus win marker. And again, the question is, how much is on Steph's shoulders? Because I don't believe they did enough this offseason. I don't think going out and getting some of the pieces, the ancillary pieces they talked about landing, were going to help this team all that much. But what you need is somebody to be a real Robin for Steph. Steph is your Batman. Draymond is obviously the guy who makes the whole thing cook, right? You need him on the floor. You're better with him on the floor, but he's not going to take the offensive load off of Steph that Klay Thompson frequently did. If there's somebody else that can tilt that gravitational pull on the court just a little bit, then it can vault you into that next wave. But Steph's carrying 80% of the offense like last year. It's going to be tough.
Let's talk about PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And there's a reason why. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets hurt. If your player leaves the field in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks and your picks are still live. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you could still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $50 off instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNBA on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Gametime's great because when you're heading to a game, usually you got a lot on your mind. And unfortunately for some, tickets were the last things on their mind, unless it's a sold-out event. Then, in this case, you go to Gametime before the event. However, the nice thing about it, it gives you the flexibility. The closer you get to your event starting, the cheaper the tickets get. So shout out to all the procrastinators out there. Great deals. Also, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know your tickets are good. Lowest price ticket guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and again, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Yeah, I mean, we're saying the word Robin, and I like the comparison, the Batman and the Robin, but Robin's a star, right? Can we get like the Batman and then a bunch of other dudes from the circus that are still really talented, but not Robin? You know, like a bunch of other guys that can play at a really high level that may not have the star name attached to them, but by the time they leave the Bay Area, they're a star. That's what I'm looking for as the Warriors kind of keep all their trade chips in tap and that sort of thing.
Well, I think that would be, I mean, that's best case scenario, right? That's when they tried to go the 2 timeline system, right? They thought, we have the number 2 pick. Let's get James Wiseman if he actually is the player that he's projected to be. And again, that was going to be such a coin flip. I mean, we've seen that now with James Wiseman in the Bay Area, the number 2 pick. We saw it with Joey Bart, number 2 pick for the Giants, who's now out of town. We saw it with Trey Lance, who's the number 3 pick. All 3 of those guys no longer in the Bay Area. It's such a coin flip in every sport to take a guy that high in the draft and to try to rebuild. And not even rebuild, retool and get better for the future while they were trying to win a championship, and did in fact win a championship, was pretty incredible. They also had pieces that they thought were going to maybe be those guys, right? Jordan Poole leads the league in free throw percentage, was instrumental in them winning that championship against Boston. They don't win it without Jordan Poole, and we thought maybe he's developing into being one of those guys, and maybe Klay Thompson leaves and Jordan Poole can slot in, and he just was not the same type of player, and we've seen that demise happen. They got off the hook for that contract. So now you've got 2 guys there. The next one is Jonathan Kuminga. And the question is Jonathan Kuminga going to take the step up this season the way we saw him go up into the right trajectory-wise last season, right? So last year, don't forget, started with him saying, I can't be coached by Steve Kerr. He was unhappy about his minutes, unhappy about how he was being used. And then all of a sudden, something clicked. Something came into play where he was able to make that next move. The issue I have with Jonathan Kuminga and Tom Tolbert, you mentioned, calls games for the Warriors, played for the Warriors for many years. He's my co-host on the Afternoon Drive show. He says, and he's a basketball guy, played in the NBA for years and knows this, the thing that Jonathan Kuminga does not have is the immediate instinct where he knows he doesn't have to process. things just sort of happen for him. The way things don't happen for him the way they do for a guy like Draymond, where it's not instinctual yet for him. And maybe that's something that can be developed, but it's getting to the point where at times it's frustrating for him to be on the court because he processes a step slower than guys. So while he makes up for it in athletic ability and some of the skill sets he's been able to add to and develop over the last couple of seasons, specifically last year, the question remains, will he be able to become the guy that is a true, like even number 2 superstar? Because Andrew Wiggins isn't even that guy right now.
You mentioned Tom. You spend, 4 hours a day on the radio with him Monday
20
through
hours
Friday?
a week, yeah. A long time, yeah.
So quite a bit, the 40 hours with Tom. It could be a TV show, 40 hours with Tom. But Tolbert's got some good stuff on the Warriors. He keeps it, objective at all times. What's kind of his take on the direction the franchise is heading entering this season?
I think Tom's of the same mindset that I am, that if you have Steph Curry and you're not in a position to win a championship, what's the goal? And I think that they will tell you that, yeah, we have Steph Curry, so we have a chance to win a championship. And I view it from the other side. You have him. What are you going to do to help him make that happen, right? We know that nobody does it by themselves. LeBron went to 8 straight finals and didn't win all of them, right? Lost a handful of those to the Warriors, who were in general a better team. LeBron was better against the Warriors when he had a healthy Kyrie Irving, when he had himself a Robin, when he had himself a Kevin Love, when he added pieces around him that can make him successful. Those are great series. They'll go down in history. The point is, unless you have enough around Steph, how can you claim to be a championship contender? And I think anybody who's looking at the Warriors and saying they are is fooling themselves. I can't look at the roster now and say it is incrementally better. It's incrementally better. I can't say that it's better enough that they're a team now they're in the mix with the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazzes not the Jazzes, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Even a team like the New Orleans Pelicans, who I thought was really dangerous last year, is probably retooled enough to be effective and a problem again this year in the West. I just think the West has gotten so much deeper, and the Warriors' style of play, if you look at number of 3-pointers attempted to number of 3-pointers per game when the Warriors won their first title and went to their first title back in 2015 to where it is now, the league is caught up to it. So you're not going to get by doing the same things you had been doing. You need the talent. I just don't think they have enough players as it stands right now.
I love how you got a chuckle out of that Robin reference from George Clooney, and Batman Forever got like a 5 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I got to throw the yellow flag at you. Batman Forever. That's the one with Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Oh God! Batman Begins. No. See, wrong again, dude. Batman Begins is the first one with Christopher Nolan, right? That's the first one with I'm blanking on his name, the actor. Won Academy Award. Anyway, bottom line is it's the one with Mr. Freeze and Uma Thurman. That's the one where Alicia Silverstone plays Batgirl. That's Batman and Robin. But you're right. Batman Forever is where Robin comes from. Okay. But Clooney is in Robin. And thinking Schwarzenegger too is Mr. Freeze. Good stuff. Kavon Looney shooting threes would be good stuff if he can knock them down, man.
Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can go ahead and check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Watch the action unfold as you're placing those live bets. You'll also get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. The Golden State Warriors right now, their over-under entering this season is set at 43.5. Don't think the Kevin Knox or Quentin Post signings raises or lowers that number by any means, but 43.5 is what the experts are saying the Warriors are going to win, thinking they're going to be just a few games over 500 this season. If you like that play, go ahead, place $5 on it. Get your $200 in bonus bets on FanDuel.com.
What's your take on Kavon during this season? I've seen some pictures. He looks trim. He looks like he's in pretty good shape. And now it sounds like he's going to play more of a, step outside, knock down some 3-pointers type role. You buying into that? You selling?
I mean, look, having more tools in your bag is always a good thing. I love Kavon Looney. I mean, he's everybody should love Kavon Looney. The guy's been an incredible part of multiple Warriors championship runs. And what's interesting is he had that Iron Man.
A good dude to interview.
I got to shout him out. We got the same hairstylist too. Shout out our girl Denise over in Oakland. Me and Kavon Looney's been going over for like the same amount of time. Anyway, Kavon, awesome player, incredible rebounder. What he's been able to do for them in the playoffs, what you need from Kavon Looney is for him to be the role player that he has been. If he has another trick to his bag where he can step outside and shoot, he can pull guys like Jokic out of the paint a little bit when you're playing him, because he's going to have to be in there to bang with some of those guys. He'll often be asked, I think, and we'll see what happens with Trace Jackson Davis. But I think what the Warriors need to do and what their style of play will be more akin to what TJD is capable of doing. And we saw that last year, which is why he claimed that starter role at the end of the season. But I do think part of what Kavon Looney is doing is adding to his game so that he can maybe gain some of those minutes back. If he can get out there and be lean and run and add to what he's already able to do physicality-wise, still be a veteran presence and be the true number two. Because right now, the skill set that he's brought in the past isn't totally, I don't think, the style of play the Warriors are looking to run with. Usually that kind of guy, somebody who played a few minutes in the first quarter in a rotation, a few minutes in the third, like a Zaza, and then they would get pulled from the game. I do think that if he's able to step outside a little bit, all it has to do is be something that guys have to start respecting a little bit to pay attention to. But if he can draw guys out and help in some of that bench role to be a 2 for TJD and not lose much in some of that athleticism, that'd be awesome.
Good stuff. Adam Copeland. Check him out on KNBR with Tom Tolbert. Media Day Monday. You gearing up for this thing for basketball? Or are we still in football mode? Like, what's the deal? It's hard for you, man. You got to shuffle so much.
Yeah, I got to be in deep football mode for a while. I mean, we still got baseball stuff going on here. The Giants have gotten hot when nobody cares, right, at the end of the season. The A's tomorrow play their final game in Oakland, so we're talking about that a bunch. But, yeah, for us, I mean, it's heavy football right now, but I've been saying this for years, man. As much as I love the NBA and as much as I do get into it, for me, like everybody who's anybody knows, it starts on Christmas Day, right? When I'm still like week 4 of the football season or week 6 of the NFL, I still got fish to fry at this point. Unless you're a Bengals fan, Chuck, then maybe you start looking towards hoops a little early.
Yeah, dude, we had an Arizona guy on from Locked On Suns, and he was complaining about how bad it is to be an Arizona fan. He's like, we haven't won a championship since 2001. And I was like, really, buddy? Until 3 years ago, we hadn't won a playoff series in any sport my entire life. I've never seen a championship. And to put salt on the wound, the Reds had that big red machine going right before I was born. Now I look at that and I'm like, how the hell did that even happen in a city like
unbelievable.
That?
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Like ever assembled, dude. All the Hall of Famers on that team, incredible. Look up George Foster hitting 40 bombs. Unbelievable.
Hey, I am glad that the Golden State Warriors drafted Steve Logan a long time ago so I could be acquainted to this franchise and talk about it right now instead of the Cincinnati Reds. But Copes, good stuff, man. You take care.
Much love, dude. I'll talk to you later, Chuck.
And just like that, content season is back, everyone. It's just about back because Monday, September 30th, the Warriors host Media Day at Chase Center. We hear from everyone. They'll bring out Buddy. They'll bring out Anderson. They'll bring out Draymond. They'll bring out Steph. They literally make every player on this roster available. And we're going to hear from almost all of them. So that's good content coming up. Then right after that, the 1st of October, Warriors start things off in Hawaii. So we're going to get news on how they're performing on the floor, what the cohesion looks like, what the new guys are doing. That's exciting. And then forget just peeling the curtain back from some of the media scribes. You get to watch it unfold. October 5th, Warriors and Clippers start things off. And this is now the time to tell you, please join the page, subscribe, and hit the bell, the notifications, so you know when we go live. It'll be simple, though. We're going to hit that live button as soon as the buzzer sounds. TBD, dependent on things like alcohol, drywall, and obviously internet malfunction in today's day and age. But good times ahead. Hopefully a good Warriors season ahead. 43.5 is that total entering this year. Quentin Post is going to be fighting for a spot on the Golden State Warriors team. We now know that. Daquan Plowden he's been waived, but still going to fight for a spot, it sounds like. And Kevin Knox has been brought in on a 1-year deal. That's the 3 pieces of news that broke in the last 24 hours if you're listening to this on a Wednesday or a Thursday. So everyone, thank you. Locked On Warriors. We appreciate you making it your first listen of the day or your last listen of the day. Either way, we don't discriminate. Free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.